miles from town, and I just broke down, spitting out smoke on the side of the road.
You've lost that driving feeling. Oh, that driving feeling.
Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
I say this calls for action, and now, nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud. You got to nip it in the bud.
I'm covered with grease from my head to my feet. My hands are cut and calloused. Spent all my bucks on a broke-down truck. Broke down $7.
Today on the Christian Car Guy Show, are you treating the symptoms or the cause? Trickier than it may sound. Are you treating the symptoms or the cause? My 18-year-old daughter drove to Birmingham last weekend, and she sent me a text Saturday night that no dad wants to get. It was a video, actually. You know, the technology today is kind of amazing. It was a video of her dash light blinking at her that was telling her car was overheating. And so she followed my advice. So, you know, anytime you get one of those red lights, it means pull over. There's something drastic going on. You could ruin your car. So she followed my advice, pulled over, and checked her coolant was low. Of course, her solution was just add coolant and everything's going to be fine. Well, driving from Birmingham, Alabama to Winston-Salem, North Carolina with a coolant leak, just adding coolant was treating the symptom, not the cause. No father who knew anything about cars would be able to rest until he knew the cause, that they were treating the symptom only. She could end up stuck on the side of the road. So on today's show, we want to discuss some symptoms and some causes, but we would love to have your input on some things. So Jasper, let's play. It's time to play Define That Defect. Resolve that roar. Trace that tick. Highlight that hubbub. Name that noise. Chronicle that clatter. Yes, get ready to call in at 866-348-7884, and I will tell you ahead of time that you will be naming actual car noise. Sometimes people get confused and think it's some other noise, but I assure you this is a noise that a car is making, and your job, if you choose to accept it, is to try to figure out what is making this noise and what is the symptom that you are experiencing as you hear this. And get ready to call in at 866-348-7884, and if you can tell us what it is, Jasper, tell them what they'll win.
They'll win a book from the Christian Car Guy Prize Vault.
All right, we have all sorts of interesting, wonderful books fresh from the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. Amazing books. All you have to do is call in and name this noise. So you're gonna get it. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in. And I can see we got people calling in already. That's good. But Jasper, we got to play the noise. He's having a little technical difficulty to get that noise, but we're going to get to it in a minute. And when you do that, we can play. But every once in a while, the computer decides to play its own noises. And so Jasper's struggling with that. So, symptoms on today's show. And if you have a symptom, perhaps, you could call us at 866-348-7884. And on today's show, we're also going to give you some updates on the Jesus Labor Love. That's car repair labor for single moms, widows, and families in crisis. So Jasper tells me that the noise is ready. And so here we go. Here's the noise. Do you know what that noise is? You call us. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and win. 866-348-7884. Or maybe you have some other symptom that you want to discuss with us. We'd love to help you out with that. And so, as I mentioned, we're going to have some updates. You know, the car repair labor for single moms, widows, and families in crisis. And I was in Tennessee week before last, so I came back to a whole list of folks that needed help and an opportunity to speak with a lot of people out there. I have some updates, and I have one story in particular It just kind of grieved my heart, and I would love to share that with you. And in the meantime, we got people calling in, 866-348-7884. We're going to name that noise. Our website, ChristianCarGuy.com. You can always go there, and you can find there podcasts of all our previous shows, Christian Car Guy Theater. The Car Show Cruise Calendar is updated for March now. You can check all that out at ChristianCarGuy.com, as well as this whole discussion today on treating symptoms or treating causes. What's up with all that? We got all that, and even our appraisal by the Real Black Book that's coming up at the end of the show, right? In our last segment, we've got our appraisal by the Real Black Book. That's where we search the Bible for hidden treasure, crowd for sermon, lift up our voice for understanding. Well, you might have guessed if you know me well. That similarly, our spiritual life exhibit symptoms. Overeating, bad temper, overspending are all symptoms of what? A deeper spiritual problem. So today, when we are going to go there, are you treating are you opening the hood on your spiritual life and checking under there to see what may be going on with that? So we will be getting to all that, but right now we got William in Raleigh, so we're going to take William. You're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning, William. Do you want to try to play Name That Noise?
I would take a guess of a wheel bearing.
A wheel bearing. Well, let's play that noise one more time, Jasper, so that everybody can hear it. And William is saying a wheel bearing, which we're going to say that, when this was actually recorded, it may have been a wheel bearing. And Jasper is taking down some other information right now, so he's going to play this in a second for us. There may have been a wheel bearing that was singing at the same time that you're hearing this other noise, William. So I'm going to give you we're going to send you out the book. But Jasper, play that noise again for us if you could. All right. There it was. Name that noise, 866-348-7884. William, have you got any symptoms that you've tried to correct where you wish you'd gotten to the cause?
And you're talking about my personal car?
Yes.
Well, there is a noise in my rear that sounds like a whoop, whoop, whoop. So it's sort of like a wheel bearing, but it's in the rear. And I've been told by Johnson Lexus it is not a wheel bearing. And they don't have no idea what it is.
And I assume they've rotated the tires?
Absolutely. Balanced, rotated, put new rims on, put new tires on.
And still you got the whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yep. It sounds like tire noise or it sounds like a bearing, but they say no. They replaced the drive train, whatever you call the power train.
Right, module.
What they call it.
Now, is that Lexus rear-wheel drive, William?
It's four-wheel drive, yes.
It's four-wheel drive. So, yeah, you've got a lot of components back there that could possibly be that, including the drive shaft. So,
well, they replaced the drive shaft and still did it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Those are the ones that Lexus is definitely struggling with. Recently you may have heard that my wife, we went through all these problems. That she kept on having these incidents where she would not be able to walk or talk, and I was going through all this stuff, and we were at the hospital here locally, and we tried. I don't know how many times we went to this hospital to try to determine what the problem was. And then my mother-in-law got sick in Texas, and my wife ended up in the emergency room down there, and guess what? They figured it out, that it was one of her medications that was actually kind of poisoning her. And so I say that to say this, William, you might try another Lexus store. If you're out of town sometime, just give them another, try a fresh ear or somebody that hadn't seen it before, because that's a lot of times the second opinion is what works.
That makes sense.
All right,
well,
brother.
I'm glad your wife is better.
Oh, let me tell you, we've had 2 weeks without one, and we are just praising God for all the prayers and everything that's going on with that. William, God bless you. Thank you for calling in today and for winning.
Sir.
All right, we got George is in Gastonia, North Carolina. George, you're on King. We lost George, but we got Rod. George can call us back at 866-348-7884. We got Rod in Chapel Hill. Rod, are you ready
Yes.
to name that noise? You want to
Yes.
hear it again?
I'm ready.
All right, go for it.
I would say wheelbarrow.
You know, that's interesting. You're the second person today to mention wheel bearing. And as I told as William, there could be a wheel bearing in this particular car, but that wasn't the noise that I was trying to get the sound from. But I'm going to say that you're a winner. We're going to send you out the book because we don't know for sure. There might be a wheel bearing in there. But I appreciate your call. God bless you, Rod. When we come back, we got a lot more Name That Noise and some more symptoms and causes. God bless you, Rod. Thanks for calling in. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and win. You give us a call.
Well, if you ever plan to go to West,
Covered with grease from my head to my feet. My hands are cut and calloused. Spent all my bucks on a broke down truck. Broke down $7.
Are you treating the symptom or the cause today on the Christian Car Guy Show? We're digging into those symptoms as we talked about my daughter's radiator leak that was kind of freaking me out when she was in Birmingham over last weekend, and she had to get back to Winston-Salem. And so she was saying, Dad, I just need to add coolant. I'll be fine. I'm like, oh, no. We got to find out why that coolant's leaking. It's a long way from Birmingham to Winston-Salem, and so we'll give you more of that story. But we're playing Name That Noise. We got George in Gastonia. Hopefully this time we're going to get him on. George, you with us this morning? Sure. All right. Let's play that noise one more time, Jasper, so George can get a good shot at it here. Well, if you're just tuning in, we're playing Name That Noise. We got George in Gastonia. That's the noise that we've got today. He could win a book from the Truth Christian Car Guy Prize Vault. George, what do you think that noise is?
That's the tire.
It is. That's a tire noise. And boy, I don't want to know how much money is spent across this country with people trying to figure out tire noises, would you?
That's true. I have a small tire store, and I know that noise.
That is so. Well, since I got you and you have a tire store, George, tell us, how many times do people try treating the symptoms of tire noise that really they got an alignment problem, they've got balancing problems, they got suspension problems? Share a little bit with our listeners what you experienced there at a tire store.
There's a lot of frustration with that. Yeah, I try to help people as much as I can, and I don't do alignments, but a lot of times that's what it is, or like you say, a strut or a shock. But I have a good friend down the road, and I try to send everybody to him, and we work together in that aspect. So it's frustrating at times. People come in and just try to pick your brain at that, but we try to help when we can.
Well, thank you, George. God bless you. And you're exactly right. You're a winner today on Name That Noise. I appreciate you calling in. God bless.
God bless.
All right. We got Charles is in Washington. Charles, you're on. Oh, Charles must have thought that was a tire noise as well. We got somebody else calling in. Again, if you've got a symptom that you'd want to cover with us today or something like that you would like to discuss, we would love for you to call at 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. The reason why I chose tires as one of those symptoms, not the cause, this morning is one of our Jesus Labor Love applicants that we had this week. As I mentioned, if you've listened to our show before, you know that Jesus Labor Love is car repair help for single moms, widows, and families in crisis. And so I came back to quite a list this week, and as I called this lady, she was really struggling with a car that had a bad vibration, and it had this noise similar to what you just heard. And, of course, everybody told her it was the tires. So we made arrangements to get it looked at, and as it turned out, there were many components in the tires were ruined by the components in the front suspension because the ball joints were bad, actually. The upper control arms were bad. The steering linkages were bad, and all these things. And it was only a 2007 car. But actually, the estimate to repair this car was $2,900. And what she was experienced was simply just a vibration in steering. She's still driving the car. but it wasn't even close to being safe because the front components, and we play that nip it in the bud all the time on the Christian Car Guy Show, because when suspension components begin to wear, they wear each other out. And as they're bumping and playing along, all those things are not only wearing out your tires, they're wearing out the other suspension components. But the real challenge to this particular story was that she had not had the car but a few months. And she had bought it from what I would call a buy here, pay here lot. That's where these people, they advertise that they'll finance the car for you right there. Well, there's a challenge is she's making these huge payments on a car that literally to fix it, based on the estimate that we got, would cost more money than to replace the car, or way more money than she paid for the car. Yet here she was in this car that literally we didn't have the money to fix it. She's still making payments on it. And as you might imagine, the people that sold it to her won't answer the phone. Which brings me to this really difficult situation. I read an article this week that Americans are running up more car debt than ever before, more than $1 trillion in car debt. And so as this debt goes out like that, and people that get in these situations, they'll buy a car from one of these lots that really, it's almost like usury. If you saw all the fees and all the things that they do, and they put it, and unfortunately, here's this person that really couldn't afford, the situation to begin with. Well, you add all these repairs, and you've got a really difficult situation. And so this is one of those things where I just continue to pray that God would help us to use wisdom before we go buy a car, especially if we have limited credit, that we really think through the process of what people may be doing to us when we go to one of these buy here, pay here places, because really they often take quite advantage of the poor people, and they often put them in situations that now, what's she going to do? She doesn't have the money to fix the car. The car's not safe to drive, and all these things are coming along. So be in prayer for our Jesus Labor of Love. And again, we thank you for your contributions. Also, later in the show, I want to share about a widow that was in Iowa that I spoke with this week, and her story. I wanted to share that with you. But right now, we got Carol is in Des Moines, and she's got a comment for us. Carol, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Good morning. I listened to you at 99.3 out of Huxley, Iowa.
Well, thank you.
And just a hint, I was driving home from church one day, and all of a sudden this terrible noise, and I was alone, know nothing about a car, and I stopped and turned the car off, and it stopped. And I waved for someone to stop, and finally a man and his wife stopped, and the man came back and checked my engine, checked my tires, and turned the car on, no noise. So I said, okay, I'll try it again. I started off again, and again the noise. So he was following me. He stopped, and he said, do you mind if I drive it and see if I can hear? And so he got in. He was a man from town. And he got in, and he started to laugh. And he said, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. This is a hint for all women who know nothing about cars or men. It was the back window open.
Oh, it was that, yeah, and it makes that pop, pop, pop,
and it makes it wop, 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 wop. It scared me to death, and my husband went home sick, and I had no cell phone with me that time. But I just wanted to call in because I listen to you every Saturday morning. Well,
thank you, Carol. That is a great hint, and I've experienced that noise, wondered what it was myself. Yeah. So that's not just for ladies. We men can find ourselves in that trap as well. Thank you for calling in. That really blesses me. God bless you.
God bless you, dear.
All
Bye-bye.
right. We have Anita is in Washington State. When we come back, she wants to play Name That Noise. We would love your call, 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. So much more. Christian Car Guy Show coming at you.
Covered with grease from my head to my feet. My hands are cut and calloused. Spent all my bucks on a broke-down truck. Broke-down $7.
Are you treating the symptom or the cause today on the Christian Car Guy Show? And speaking of symptoms and causes, if you find yourself in church tomorrow and it's everybody's already been there and you missed the service, their symptom is that you're way late. The cause being that you did not set your you didn't spring forward. Tonight is the night that we are going to spring forward, and reset our clocks for daylight savings times in many places across the country, not every place, but most places hearing my voice need to reset your clocks tonight. So there's a symptom and a cause. But we got Anita is in Washington State. She wants to play Name That Noise. Anita, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I had my radio turned down, so I think that the guy ahead of me already got the noise, but I was thinking it was just the idle. So the idle went from just regular to super fast. So
I love that answer, Anita. And it could very possibly be that not only was the tires that were making the noise, but their idle was my car does that sometimes. And now that we have computers, they have oxygen sensors and all these different sensors that tell the engine how to run. And when those things get a little out of whack, they can run the idle up, and you're just sitting there at the stoplight wondering, why in the world is my idle running way up? I bet you've experienced that.
I have experienced it, but just when my car is first started.
Yeah, well, when it first starts, that's the choke. So it's trying to warm it up, and that's how that goes. Well, you're a winner, and so we'll get you a book, Anita. Thanks for calling in today.
All right. Thanks so much for your program.
Well, God bless.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we are going to get to some spiritual symptoms and causes, but we got to get to these car ones because, as I mentioned, and I know a lot of people may be wondering, Robbie, did your daughter make it back? Yes, she did, but the cause was actually a plastic fitting that's going to cost like $200 to get it all completely repaired. So when you've got low fluids, low oil, low transmission fluid, low power steering fluid, low brake fluid, those are symptoms. Those aren't the cause of, in other words, none of those things are supposed to be low. So if you're low on coolant, something is broken, then it's leaking. If you're low on oil, there's something that's broken and it's leaking. If you're low on Freon, again, those things are not supposed to drip out. So, Freon just flows out as a gas, but all those things. Low on brake fluid's a real scary one, but that one actually can go lower just as your brakes begin to wear out. And so when you see your brake fluid drop down like that may actually be a symptom of your brakes wearing out, along with other things. But again, the idea being that these are symptoms. Tires, as we talked about, the tires have got cups, or they are making this horrible noise, and all those things, they could be symptoms of other problems in the car. And the challenge is, if you just treat the symptom, put more fluid in it, it leaks out, you go overheat, you blow a head gasket. The next thing you know, wow, we've got a $2,000 repair instead of a $200 repair. And those kind of things happen all the time. So as we talk about, nip it in the bud, but I also wanted to talk about this from another standpoint. That when I went to service advisor school years ago, they taught us something called the 3 C's. And I don't mean to get complicated on you, but I think it's helpful to know that the reason why they gave us these, which was complaint, cause, and correction, and I think those are words we all can understand. The complaint is actually the symptom. So as a person that's riding service, or if you're communicating to your service advisor, some people would come in and rather than tell me what their complaint is, they would say, Robbie, I need a tune-up. Or Robbie, I think I need a fuel pump. Now, if I'm a bad service advisor, I don't try to determine what that symptom is. I just do what they say, just do a tune-up. Well, little did I know that their car was skipping or there was a reason that they wanted the tune-up. So it's really important when you're talking to a service advisor to give them the actual symptoms. Symptoms are good to know. I'm running low on coolant. My car's making this whop, whop, whop noise. Or what is it that you're actually experiencing, rather than trying to diagnose it yourself and then getting a fuel pump you don't need, or a tune-up you don't need, or those other things. You share with your service advisor, what are the symptoms that you are experiencing? I imagine it's similar with a doctor. You want to give him your symptoms. It's up to him to diagnose the issue. If he's a trustworthy mechanic, those are things that become part of the issue. So when you are dealing with that service advisor, think about these 3 C's. Give him your complaint. These are the things I'm experiencing. I'm hearing this knock. I'm experiencing this, that something seems wrong. And then when you pick up the car, that's when the other 2 C's come in. What was the cause? Why was obviously my daughter, why is it that my car was leaking the fluid? And so that you can rest at night, that you found the smoking gun, this is what the problem was that was leading to the symptoms that you were experiencing. What was the cause? What was it that actually was the problem with the car? And then what did you do to correct that? And sometimes you're going to find they did really creative things to correct those problems. And so it's kind of critical that you understand, from my standpoint, it would be really helpful if people followed those 3 C's when it came to car repair. In other words, when I'm picking up my car, I want to know, what did you find was the cause of the problem, and how did you correct the problem? And again, that may lead to parts and all sorts of other things. But, that's part of the whole, service experience. Well, again, we get a chance to do this every week on our Jesus Labor Love. If you go to ChristianCarGuy.com, you'll see there the wonderful Jesus Labor Love, where we have car repair for single moms, widows, and families in crisis. And you can see the Christian car care centers that help with that, which, by the way, Chips in Louisville, Kentucky really helped us out this week, as did Bill's Auto Clinic here in Winston-Salem, and a National Tire and Battery in Raleigh. We got people all over that are just helping out every single week. And East Main Auto in Radford, Virginia, they have come through for me 3 or 4 times with situations that are just remarkable. People that honestly care about their customers, that, have Christian principles, are going to try to help people. It's really good to know, and that's part of the Jesus Labor Love, as we show those things. Well, I did want to share this other story, and it's in Des Moines, Iowa, and actually Dexter, Iowa, which I had not heard of. But here was a lady, and again, one of those situations where her car overheated, and when that light starts to flash and it's red, it's critical. Pull over as fast as you can, because when a car overheats, it will be moments before you either crack the head or blow the head gasket. So of the light that I see time and time and time again in the Jesus Labor Love is that overheating light came on, and they didn't, or they thought, well, I can make it to the gas station. I can do this. No, you can't. When that light is red, it means pull over. It's a serious situation. Well, unfortunately, that led to a blown head gasket on this particular vehicle, which made it possibly unrepairable. Interestingly, she has a family member that may have an engine that we may use, or it may be that we need a car donation in Iowa. So I say that to say, and anywhere in this country, if you've got a car that's sitting out there that you don't know what to do with, and you say, well, gee, I could get a tax deduction by just donating it to the Jesus Labor Love. Oh, yes, you can. If you go to ChristianCarGuy.com, there you're going to see at our website, the Jesus Labor Love, there's a number of things there that you can check. Obviously, we would love for you to donate your prayers. That's one of the biggest things, because if God can connect with us and we're moving the kingdom forward, that's number one in our book by far and away. But then clearly we could use help in making the phone calls. We could use help in financial resources. We could use help with people donating cars. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can connect with that ministry. If you like cars, God gave you that gifting in whatever way, shape, or form. This is a neat thing. I think all the time that we're kind of the middleman, that, God has got somebody in every town in this country that's a mom, a family in crisis, is saying, God, help me fix my car. God, I don't know what to do with this situation. But at the same time, there's somebody in that town that's praying, God, use my gifts. How can I move the kingdom forward? And so the Jesus Labor Love just kind of puts those two things together. You see, it's just that person that's praying for the need over there, and that person that has these gifts to share over here, and you put them together, and it's amazing that when it happens, that God's glorified, the kingdoms move forward. And one of the neat things, and I say this every time, but it never ceases to amaze me, how I get a chance to pray with the applicants, when they call in and they fill out their repair, and every single time you can tell that God touches the situation, and God is doing stuff in all of our lives. We're just trying to figure out, how we can connect to them, all those kind of things. So, again, ChristianCarGuy.com, you can find all those connections the Jesus Labor of Love. If you heard a past episode or something and you want to listen to the podcast, those are all there at ChristianCarGuy.com. And I don't want to leave out Christian Car Guy Theater, which was designed. We would love, love, love to have younger listeners join in Christian radio and begin to give them a love for the Lord and a love for, this kind of entertainment on Saturday mornings. And so Christian Car Guy Theater is there. Those downloads are all free. We would love for you to take advantage of that. When we come back, what about these symptoms for a spiritual cause? Stay tuned. Are we treating the symptoms or the cause today on the Christian Car Guy Show, as we've been talking about? If you want to know about that, about cars, we have an article there at ChristianCarGuy.com. I'd urge you to go there and check that out. But this is the last segment of the show where we do our appraisal by the Real Black Book. That's where we search the Bible for treasure, cry out for understanding. And interestingly, your spiritual life may exhibit symptoms as well, and it may be overeating or a bad temper or overspending. There are all sorts of sin that we can fall into that are symptoms of a deeper spiritual problem. And so are you going to treat those symptoms without ever looking under the hood? And eventually, like my daughter's car, you may find yourself broke down on the side of the road. Well, I'm preaching to the choir because in my own life, obviously, I run into that. And this week, I really found myself there where I knew that something wasn't right. I knew that something wasn't right, but I really couldn't put my finger on what it was. I just was feeling anxiety that I normally don't feel. And you may know that I have this daily prayer that I do and that I love to do, and it's at ChristianCarGuy.com as well under daily prayer. And as I was praying that, I asked Jesus, show me what it is where is my struggle? What's going on here? And interestingly, he said to me, this particular case, he said, Robbie, you need to worship me. You need to love on me. And that was an interesting thing. Okay. So I was obedient, and I started looking for some way to worship, and I started listening to different hymns, and I couldn't find one that I really felt was hitting the mark for worship, and I kept trying, and I finally found this Irish hymn, which you just heard at the beginning of the intro. It's Be Thou My Vision. And as I was starting to listen to it, of course, I love the sound of it being Irish, and it gives you that whole, Braveheart feel, especially if you're Irish like I am. But then I didn't understand the words, and so I looked at the lyrics, and I thought, well, I've got to figure this out. And the way these words go is, Be Thou My Vision, which, you're asking God to be the vision. Oh, Lord of my heart. I can understand that. But that next line really got me. It said, not be all else to me. And I actually just looked up the word not, even though I know it means nothing, because ought times ought is nothing. But I really had to sit there and think about that. And I think that's where Jesus wanted me to go, was nothing else is supposed to mean to me but him. And then he says, save that thou art. In other words, nothing else but you, Lord. And then I love this. Thou my best thought by day or by night. I mean, isn't he really? Isn't he your best thought by day or by night? Waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. And then he says, be thou my wisdom and thou my true word. I mean, isn't Jesus my wisdom? Isn't he my true word? I ever with thee, thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true Son, thy in my dwelling and I with thee one. I was like, whoa, yeah, this is me. I'm right there with you. And then came this part, which just kind of really sung to my heart. And he says, be thou my battle shield. What a cool concept. I don't know how I hadn't really just put him out there as my shield for all that was going on in my life right now, but I hadn't. And so as I sang that verse, I was like, oh, wow, be thou my battle shield, my sword for the fight. And this also spoke to my situation. Be thou my dignity. In other words, what I was really going through as I really began to process this is I felt other people weren't giving me my due. And I wait a minute. He's my dignity. He's my delight. And I was like, oh, there it is right there. I see you have found my symptom is here's the cause. It was a concern over my own dignity. And thou my delight, thou my show shelter, thy my high tower, raise thou me heavenward, O power of my power. And I love this. It goes on to take on other symptoms that I was experiencing. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. I mean, how many times are we looking for accolades somewhere that we shouldn't? Thou mine inheritance, now and always. I mean, if I just realize he's the inherit. I mean, this song is like, wow, this can. Thou and thou only, first in my heart, high King of heaven, my treasure, thou art. And then, of course, it gets to the crescendo here, where high King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, O bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all. In other words, wow, how wonderful is it that God gave me this. You know, I asked him, what do I need? He said, you need to worship. And it took me really the better part of an hour or so to even find a place where I could worship. But when I finally got there, as I realized that he was this and he was that, and he was meeting all these needs, and I could see that. And so I want to play that song in its and its completeness for you. So enjoy this Be Thou My Vision as we end the Christian Car Guy Show that way today with that.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, nor be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, thou my true word, I ever with thee, thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Be thou my battle shield, sword for the fight. Be thou my dignity, thou my delight. Thou my soul shelter, thou my high tower. Raise thou me heavenward, O power of my power. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty
my vision.